This episode is made possible by New Masters Academy, the world's #1 online art school. Click the link down below for a free 7-day trial. Thank you, New Masters Academy. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Honey and Absinthe After Hours podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Vincent, a background designer for animation.
And I'm Janet, the ex-Disney artist turned independent creator, and this is a podcast about all things art, business, and whatever we feel like.
Now today we are going to talk about the genius that is Kanye West.
But before we get into it, I don't have a big budget like Disney, DreamWorks, Nickelodeon. So, make sure to smash that like button.
Over there.
Like, subscribe, comment, and let's get into this news story.
Also, happy Halloween. Hope you found something to do at home. But yeah, today we're going to talk about Kanye West.
This is our Halloween episode.
Yes.
And today I am dressed up as Tim Pool. I'm from the south side of Arcadia.
Oh, God.
And when I laugh, my beard slips off, so I'm not gonna laugh because Tim doesn't laugh.
So there's a lot of things that people say about Mr. West, that he is that he is a egomaniac, that he is a contrarian, that he is a I don't know, he's a polarizing figure, and a lot of people have very strong opinions about Mr. West. What do you think about Mr. West, Janet Chan?
I think Ye is a genius.
Oh, really?
Yes, I think he is a very, very smart, intelligent man.
There's a lot of people who would disagree with you.
And I really like him. I see a lot of myself and you in him.
Yep.
Yeah, so... And I think you have to remember, too, I think a lot of people like to criticize him, but he's a very successful man. He's done a lot. He's worth $5 billion now.
But he used to be in debt, according to him.
Yeah, he pulled himself out of millions of dollars of debt, I assume. He became a superstar rapper, and he influences so many people.
He broke into the fashion industry.
Yeah.
Right?
And now, like, I don't think people can fathom how much money he has and success. So I think that's why they don't understand why he's doing the things he's doing now, or has done ever since he became really, really successful. But what would you do if you were worth $5 billion? Like, most people don't realize, like, he's so successful that, like, he, like, in the recent Joe Rogan podcast, which is why we're talking about this, he was on the JRE Experience.
Yeah, a very, very, very highly anticipated episode.
People can't fathom how much $5 billion is, and he even said himself on the podcast that, like, music loses him money compared to a lot of other things.
He doesn't have to make music anymore.
No. So, like, what would you do if you, like, accomplished your life's dream? You are now a billionaire. You can do whatever you want with the money that you have and the influence that you have. So he wants to be president, and he wants to build a monastery and, like, reimagine the way we live.
What were the honest expectations you had for this interview with Joe?
I didn't have any expectations.
You didn't have any expectations? Yeah. I always felt like it was going to be a really awkward conversation. In fact, I didn't even think it was going to be a conversation, because I think everybody who's seen Kanye in an interview knows that he loves to go on all sorts of tangents. And that's what he does throughout the whole thing. And you can really tell throughout his whole conversation with Joe, not really conversation with himself, he thinks really deeply about things.
I think Kanye, he wouldn't call it a rant. He calls it a symphony, a painting. Because words are important to Kanye because of manifestation, and I guess, you know, he believes that, like, if you put positivity into the world, you get positivity back. You put negativity out in the world, you get negativity back. So I genuinely think that's actually why he says it's a symphony. But, like, yeah, people can't fathom, like, They think he is an egomaniac. He's self-absorbed, and he's like, who is he to do it? Well, he's a billionaire. Why not?
Yeah.
What, I've actually thought about, like, if I had all the money in the world, what would I do?
So yeah, what would you do?
I actually have aspirations like Kanye, where I want to create like my own school. I want to create my own foundation, specifically for like the arts and for animals. And I would make the most smart house that ever was. I want to reimagine the way we live. I don't want to do a thing. I want robots to serve me. What would you do?
Worth $1 billion or more, I'd move and I'd probably move and then just play music, and I just want to be alone and I want to make art. I just want to make that happen by any means necessary. I just want to have the freedom to just wake up and go, today I'm going to paint. Today I'm going to draw. Today I'm going to write a song.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people, that's kind of what they retire.
Yeah. Retirement's going to be so awesome.
But only me and Kanye, crazy people like me and Ye, would be like, I'm going to like do more. Now, like most people who are rich, they just kind of disappear into the ethos. Like all the other rap stars that make it these days, they just kind of make their millions and then they leave. Kanye's like, I'm worth $5 billion. You know what? I'm going to buy Universal.
I'm going to buy Universal and I'm going to be president. When he said so confidently that he's going to buy Universal, I was like, whoa. I think he's actually going to do it one day.
I think successful people genuinely believe, and they have to, that they are going to do the thing that they're going to do.
Do you think Gary Vee is going to get the jets?
Yes.
You believe it?
I believe it. He believes it. I believe it.
And how much do you believe that Kanye is going to buy Universal?
I mean, I think it's
inevitable.
In our lifetime.
In our lifetime? Damn.
Yeah.
Watch out, Universal. Watch out, DreamWorks. DreamWorks is gonna make a Kanye movie.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
A Kanye doc.
A Kanye doc. Collaboration Murakami. Let's go! I think there are a lot of opinions that say something like Kanye isn't talented or isn't, he's he doesn't make good music. He doesn't make music at all.
Really?
Yeah, there are a lot of people who are like that. But what do you think about Kanye and his artistry?
I think Kanye is a fantastic artist.
I think he's truly an artist.
Yeah.
I really think so.
Listening to him talk, he thinks like a designer. And he, especially after like you composing music and making beats and stuff like that, Kanye really thinks like a composer or a designer or someone. Like when he was making that song, when he was talking about a whole 100,000 people singing in unison in like a stadium, like imagine that. And then he was literally composing as he's singing it a little bit.
Huh.
He would be like, oh, like some are like singing the chorus and then the whole 100,000 comes in like, and then like he was like thinking about it in beats and in parts of a song and stuff.
He also is really good at conflating things. I think that's like the superpower of artists. We, for some reason, know how to link things that don't really belong together. Mm-hmm. And the way he explains things, he like makes references from Star Wars and references from all sorts of different things. Like his mind is all over the place, yet he finds threads.
Yeah.
And that's such a artist thing to do. And the reason why that's really important for an artist, like it's kind of really neat to somehow take two things that don't really belong together and make them harmonious. And that's how we make new weird shit. Yeah, and like his mind is constantly ping-ponging through different things and different ideas.
Yeah, he's constantly comparing like different professions to each other and how like he can relate to like a doctor or a tech person or whatever. He doesn't just think about one thing in its own little box. Like he does, like so many people that are like him could just be like, well, I think in everything in terms of being a musician, like a beat maker or a rapper or whatever. He thinks about he thinks of himself as a visionary, and I think people think that's egotistical for him to say, but I think he means it literally, not as like a thing to like blow smoke up his own ass or whatever. I think he's genuinely like, I think of things, new ways to do things all the time, and in different creative ways, and I don't think he's like saying that just to say it.
He means it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think there aren't, in the podcast he brings forth a lot of ideas. Some of them are really neat, some of them kind of neat, kind of sounds impossible, you know. But the fact that he's actually trying to think outside of what we're normally used to, I think takes a lot of creativity. He,
I think, is brave and courageous and confident enough to just be able to say it, because like I think a lot of people don't say a lot of the ideas that they have because they
I'm afraid of what you might think of my idea.
Yeah,
it might sound stupid.
But he doesn't really edit himself in that way. Like he doesn't censor himself in that way. He just says ideas that come to him, and he believes in it, or he'll like play with the idea and mold it. But I think most people will just be like, oh, that's a stupid idea. I don't want people to think I sound stupid, or I don't want to sound stupid, so I'm just not going to say it.
Yeah.
But I think he, like a lot of artists, have a lot of neat ideas. And who is anyone to tell Kanye, to tell Ye, a very successful, like, rich man, like, you can't do that. And that's what he said for himself. He's
and when
bright.
people tell him that you can't do something, it just kind of lights a fire under his ass.
It's like, you said the wrong thing.
Yeah, like it seems as though a lot of people are discouraging him, still discourage him to be president.
Yeah. Which, like, he believes so hard.
He believes it.
He believes
I believe that he
happen.
believes it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's important. That's important for him to become successful. I mean, like, even Oprah was, like, kind of discouraging him, but kind of not at the same time. And
yeah, you gotta brush up on your foreign policy, you know, if you want to be a president, you know.
But I love that this line that he said in the podcast, he was like, so many people are so free and arrogant with their advice. Why? I only take advice from people who have done what I want to do. So why would I listen to you? I'm the most successful man I know. And people might hear that and go like, man, what an egomaniac. I hear that and I go like, but is he wrong? He's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
Why would he listen to you? He is the most successful person probably in that room.
And the people who probably haven't done, say, what he's done before, they're probably going to tell him, oh, you can't do that. But then how do you know?
Yeah, how do you know? And I really relate to that.
You wrote down a lot of Ye-isms.
Yeah, especially at the beginning, because I think a lot of people who discourage him, his way of being, he talks a lot about confidence, and it's how I view it as well. There was this great part in the podcast where he talks about confidence and arrogance, and he says, like, I use confidence when I know what I'm doing, and I use arrogance when I don't know what I'm doing. But I would rather use arrogance to do something rather than let some other people's opinion of me hold me back, is basically what he said. And I'm like, yeah, don't tell me what I can or can't achieve. I'm Ye. I hate it when people tell me, like, oh, especially growing up, you're a woman, so you can never be a director. You're Asian, so you're like this, or you're like that. I'm like, you don't know me. He's literally said, like, is Ye crazy? Is Ye an egomaniac? Is Ye all this stuff? Ye know who Ye is.
Ye know. who Ye is.
Exactly. And I know who I am.
Janet knows who Janet is.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do.
Right.
And I think I think it's better to be that confident of your abilities and to believe so hard that you're going to accomplish what you set your mind out to, rather than let people tell you you can't before you've even tried.
You have to try first, at least.
Yeah. And like a really great part in the podcast that really resonated with me was when he was talking about brilliance and bravery. He was talking about like, wouldn't it be tragic if you found Elon Musk working at like the 3rd floor of GM? We would never have Tesla. We would never have Elon Musk the way we know him today.
Man, when he said that, it blew my mind. Because I was thinking like, oh shit, how many Walt Disneys are just working for Walt Disney?
Yeah, and he talked a lot about fear. Fear is the reason why. Like he said, telling the story about this brilliant person that he was talking to from MIT, and he was just so filled with fear of change.
Yeah, he said something like, my wife and I are having a kid, we just bought this house, all this stuff, just worry after.
Yeah,
worry.
And he didn't want to change whatever situation whatever good situation maybe that he was in. And Ye had this great line about like the smartest people on the earth are like paid to I don't know, be at MIT or whatever, to work on the smallest things that don't change anything. And he was like, brilliance plus bravery, then that's when we get change. Then that's when maybe we can finally do something.
A lot of brilliant people working for Disney.
Yeah.
A lot of brilliant people working for Apple.
Mm-hmm.
But what if those brilliant people actually did the thing that they're dreaming of doing instead?
And it really does take some amount of courage, bravery, ego,
a little bit of craziness, a little bit of madness,
to really go after it. And I thought, like, yeah, that's such a intelligent observation, because all entrepreneurs have that. They understand that, like, it takes a lot of guts and a lot of ability to do high risk situational, like to weigh your risk out and go like, I'm going to do the high risk thing, because
you're putting your butt on the line.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
because YOLO, we have one life to live.
Better try winning big
than
just steadily wasting your life away, I guess.
And if you fail, like he had a whole bit, not bit, but like he had a whole thing about failure, about how like and this is what I noticed too, going to excellent schools and achieving excellent things, going like you can't make it in a place like Disney or whatever without knowing a few brilliant people. And especially like, for example, when we were going to school in Art Center, he said this thing about like brilliant people. There are some people who hit the game of life and who are going to do the things that they're going to do. Like they come to a school, and it doesn't matter what school they go to, whatever, they came here to do something and they're gonna do it. Like it wasn't because of the school, it wasn't because of anything. They were going to do it no matter what you said or no matter what you're able to teach them, whatever. And yeah. I noticed that too. Like,
there's a lot of people that I know. I could think of 3 people who I first met them and they said, I'm gonna be this, and they're that now.
Am I one of those people?
I didn't meet you until so much later.
Okay.
but like seriously, like people I met when I first got to college.
Yeah.
That type of thing, where they were people on a mission.
Yeah. And like and he said like those people, all they need to know is they need to see someone come back from debt, or to like go through all the smoke screens, and like basically he was saying like these brilliant people who are brilliant and are going to do the things that they set out to do. All they need to see is someone successful who has overcome failure and isn't afraid to fail.
Yeah, that's why. Okay, so that's why I really hate a lot of movies these days, because the heroes don't suffer enough.
They just magically win.
Yes, I like watching the heroes fail and suffer and get their ass whooped in the first 2 acts, because I need to see somebody, say, I don't care about how much I'm getting beat up. This is life and I'm going to keep going, which is that's some great motivation, because life is whack a lot of the time. And it's really nice to, like, for example, Logan. The whole movie is him getting his ass whooped. So it's like really satisfying to see him like save the kids and then, make the ultimate sacrifice. A lot of the time, like, I fucking watch Star Wars, it's just like no one earned anything. Fucking Anakin and Luke lost limbs. Rey got out of the entire trilogy unscathed.
Yep.
The same person she started in the beginning, she left the same person at the 3rd movie. Absolutely nothing. No character development or anything.
Yeah.
She's the same person.
Ay. But yeah, the whole, I mean, isn't there like, I forget, I think it might be like a Pixar trope or something where it's not, this is like the first thing.
Oh, that's number 1.
Yeah.
It's not, fuck. It's something like, it's not like, oh fuck.
It's not like it's a rule of screenwriting where it's not the win that that the audience wants to see your character get. It's you root for a character because they try. You like them because they try, not because they won.
Right.
And like, there's so many movies that
Sports
I've seen,
movies
where they didn't win, but
the first Rocky was a tie or something like that. Yeah.
And like, but you went on a journey.
Yeah.
And it's about the trying, not the winning.
Because you're there, and it's cathartic to watch somebody who, started from zero achieve excellence.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, if Steve Jobs was afraid of failure, if any, like, Ye brought up, like, Airbnb, Tesla, all these companies, if they were afraid of failure, would they have gone off and done the things that they done? Probably not. But you have to just believe really hard that you are going to succeed.
There were times when we were at school and we were graduating where we had no idea if we were going to actually make it into Hollywood.
Yeah.
And work.
I mean,
it was all theory up until, you graduate and it's time to actually do the thing.
None of us know.
Yeah.
But I think, at least for me, the moments when I didn't believe very hard, I guess, were probably like the worst moments. But like, when you do just have that kind of confidence and you believe that you are going to succeed no matter what, you usually take the actions to get there too.
Yeah. You go all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't do this very often, but buy my food buckets. Just kidding.
Bad joke.
If you're into listening to podcasts, you will be interested in listening to audiobooks as well. And I have a recommendation for you. You should check out Influence by Robert Cialdini. And if you don't already have an Audible trial, go head over to audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast to get your free trial, where you'll get 1 free audiobook and 2 free Audible original audiobooks. So 3 audiobooks in total, completely for free. So yeah, head over to audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast. Buy my food buckets.
So, Ye has this great kind of viral moment, kind of ranting about the new Star Wars versus George Lucas's Star Wars, and it's kind of about art and what's not art. What's someone's genuine vision versus corporate nonsense. Yeah.
I tell you what, man, Ye is right. I completely agree. He was like, oh, I know you Disney designers are going to forget, yeah, I'm a ex Disney, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. He is right. Like, whatever you want to say about the prequels, and I'm not coming from like a Star Wars fan.
I think you have a great opinion on this because you don't really like Star Wars.
Yeah, I watched Star Wars for the first time in my adult life, like in my 20s. And then before I think the very last movie, we went on like a whole, from the, like, chronologically all the movies from the beginning all the way up, including the prequels.
Yeah, so in the beginning of our relationship, you watched, I showed you them for the first time. And then in preparation for, the last movie, we watched everything from beginning to end. And we only skipped Solo because it's kind of a waste of time.
Yeah, and we had already watched it recently too.
Yeah, it was pretty fresh in our minds.
Yeah.
So. But we really got to see it from did we watch it prequel first or
I think we watched it prequel first.
Yeah. Wow. So we really saw George's vision from like beginning to end.
Yeah. And that's what it is. It's right. George's vision. Like, whether you love it or hate it. Also, like, honestly, the prequels are better than the corporate made Disney Star Wars. And the George is, it was his vision. It was pure. It was what this guy wanted.
Yeah, so as a diehard, I guess, Star Wars fan, I grew up with the VHS trilogy as a kid, and when the prequels came out, I thought they were like the first movie, Phantom Menace, I thought was amazing, and then you watch it again and again, it's just like, oh man, there are parts I'm just gonna skip over because like I can't do this. But then when Revenge of the Sith comes out, it feels like the word was, this is it. Mm-hmm. After this movie, it's gonna connect with A New Hope, and then that's it for Star Wars forever. And then after that happened, I think I was in 8th grade, and there wasn't any Star Wars ever. There was Lord of the Rings and there was Harry Potter, but there was no Star Wars. And then I think halfway through college, there was news that Disney bought, George Lucas's Star Wars and Lucasfilm and everything. And I was like, this is amazing. We're taking it away from George because he's ruining it. And we all collectively, as fans of Star Wars who weren't pleased with the prequels, there's many of us out there, were just over the moon about, holy shit, this is actually going to be not by George Lucas because he fucked everything up with the prequels. And then the new movies come out and they're just, they start, you start off like, oh, this is amazing because we're finally like, what's after fucking, what is that? What's after Return of the Jedi? And, it's all a bunch of hoopla. Yeah. A bunch of nonsense. And then when we watched it again, it was like, it's really goofy. It's really weird. The politics are really ham-fisted. Like, there's this whole trade thing, subplot in the prequels. But at the end of the day, Revenge of the Sith, good-ass movie.
Yeah.
A better movie than any of the new Disney movies.
Yeah.
None of them even come close.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious because I watched... since we did this in succession, watching, after watching the original trilogy and then watching Force Awakens is a slog. Because it's it is no joke. It is exactly like A New Hope.
Yeah, beat
for beat. So after so if you're doing a Star Wars marathon, you're watching A New Hope and then you watch Force Awakens, it's just like, wow, this movie is kind of trash.
Yeah, it's like a lesser version of
the really, really good thing.
Yeah. And again, Kanye conflates things together. And he talks about, I think actually Rogan brought this up about how it's a corporate made thing, and Kanye brings up oh yeah, like at Pixar or wherever they have he forgets what the term was, but like certain movies that aren't proven concepts, while they're gonna make Frozen 2 or 10,000 or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, that is exactly how it works. Like there are so
Go
many.
into it. Get into it.
There are so, and they compare it to like the music industry, and they're saying how like the music industry fucks artists, like music artists, because you get them into these bad deals and they don't own anything that they make. Does that sound like anything familiar to you? Animation is exactly the same way, where you don't own anything that you make. And there's like so many great ideas out there, like being pitched all the time.
Locked away in a vault, never to be born.
Yeah, like I think I've said before, like they'll buy pitches just so other people can't make it, and they'll lock it away forever, and your idea is just
gone forever,
doomed to never be made. And because there's no proof of concept, because they'd rather make Frozen 10,000
than take a risk on your idea.
Yeah, and there's so many ideas and movies that I know that have been canned and people were really upset when they were canned because
instead of doing something interesting, they chose to do, I don't know, the Emoji Movie.
Yeah, or whatever.
Or Frozen 2.
Kanye is this artist who broke out of that system, trying to get other people to like break out of that system.
Man, it sounds really familiar.
He's like, I was an artist and now want to buy Universal. Like, yeah, Kanye, I'm rooting for you.
Oh my god, I would love to work for DreamWorks once Kanye buys Universal. That'd be awesome. Imagine DreamWorks makes like a Murakami crossover Kanye music. It's like the DreamWorks version of Fantasia, but with Kanye and Murakami. Boom. You're gonna make so much money. Why are you not doing it? It's right there. Kanye, take my idea. It's like Fantasia. I mean, Disney's never going to fucking bring back Fantasia. Proof of concept. So yay. Make a Fantasia, but with your music, and make really neat visuals with the people at the great, fantastic artists at DreamWorks, and work with Murakami, who you've worked with before, and fucking make something amazing.
Man, yeah.
That would be amazing. It would practically save Hollywood. But Hollywood doesn't want to be saved, now does it?
No. Hollywood wants to go down with the Titanic.
The fire rises.
Oh my god.
Yes, brother. The fire rises. You can't hide in the dark. I was born in the dark, molded by it.
I also love this other moment where Kanye says, like, he doesn't like it when people say something is for kids. I really related to him when he said that because I think you'd think a lot of people who go into animation are passionate about making content to help better children, but apparently not. But like I had all these aspirations to do certain things, and especially when I left and I made my whole like, I quit Disney, whatever. And a lot of people on Twitter, for example, for some reason went all protect the children. Don't let her discourage you.
Don't listen to her.
Don't listen to her.
Cover your ears.
There are different experiences.
Everyone has all sorts of different experiences.
Yes. Yes. And first of all, art students are not children. They're adults.
I mean, it's very telling that the people, the recruiters and all of the teachers are like, oh, cover their ears. I can already feel our tuition decreasing.
Our online course dollars are evaporating as she speaks.
Shut her up! Somebody shut her up!
And because they didn't say protect the children, they said protect the art student. And I was like, what? They're like 18 or above.
Yeah, man.
Who are you? Why? And they're just saying all sorts of things like, oh, like don't listen to her, all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't know. Yes, there are all sorts of experiences. Mine was one of them. And all I was trying to say was this is a corporate soul-sucking job where you sit in a cubicle and it's not the dream they sell you. Maybe you should know that before you go work for them.
Invest $200,000 of tuition money.
That's all I was trying to say. I didn't say don't work for Disney. I don't care. I don't care what you do with your life. And yet they were like, there are all sorts of experiences.
I've had some good ones, and I've had some bad ones.
Yeah, like at the same time, they couldn't like discount what I was saying because everyone knows what I'm saying is true. Everyone. And
she is not wrong, but they are very good experiences.
She's not wrong, but she's not right either. How if I say? Yeah, and I just think that's so stupid. Like, because just like Ye says, he thinks children should learn how the world works early on. You shouldn't dumb things down to kids, because what if, like, he the scenario that, like, what if all the parents are gone, which is going to be the case when they grow up. So it's you teach, like, I was not talked down to or like held with kitty gloves growing up at all.
Did your parents ever tell you good job?
No.
Did your parents ever tell you everything's gonna be okay?
No. I don't.
When you got into trouble, did your parents leave you alone outside?
Yes. Like,
and as much as you cried and cried and cried, they wouldn't let you back in?
Yeah. As a 5-year-old, when your parents throw you out, you think the world is ending. You think,
Mom, let me back in! Oh my god!
you think I'm crazy. It's because of how I was raised. Yeah, my parents didn't treat me with kitty gloves. Like, they treated me like an adult from like day one, and it was brutal. But you know, that's what children need. Like, I'm not gonna, like, what's worse, me telling art students, save the art students, protect the art students,
cover the ears.
Telling them my own experience. Maybe you should consider that before you go work for them. If you don't like that, maybe don't work for them.
If you're whatever about it,
Then
go ahead.
yeah. Maybe telling them the truth might be good, because they're spending $200,000 on their or more on their art education.
Which means that they're kind of locked into this career for a very long time.
And this tells me, oh, they would rather them not know. They would rather you art students out there, they would rather you spend $300,000 on a pricey education because it's your dream, it's worth it, to be lied to.
Don't listen to them. Follow your dreams.
yeah. Follow your dreams. Your dreams are a sham. We lied to you all this time. But give me your $300,000
and your time.
Yeah, your youth.
Years and years of your youth.
Ye said this thing about how the music industry makes sure you have the exact amount of debt coming out of music as the house that you want.
He uses very strong words to describe what the music industry does to an artist. And, it's not like I disagree. Do you disagree?
No.
Yeah.
It's isn't that interesting? It's very similar to your art school debt, your college debt in general.
Oh my
I guess.
god! I never thought of it like that.
You come out, you get a job.
$200,000 in debt, so it's your responsibility to make all that money back by chaining yourself to the animation industry. Oh, how strange.
It's like,
How
oh,
similar.
we'll give you your dream. You just have to work for us for like ever. And then you're like, yeah, that's my dream, I want that. And then you start working for them and you're like, oh.
Fuck, get me out of here!
And then you can't, because you are chained to debt. And that's why people don't leave.
I know friends who invest in Bitcoin. I know friends who are dipping their toes in other industries because they're thinking about their exit plan in animation.
Yet they haven't left.
Yeah.
Though, interestingly enough.
All right, so read some Kanye quotes that really resonated with you.
Yeah. So,
Yay quotes, excuse me.
Yeah. Well, this really reminded me of, life, but specifically people in Hollywood. People would rather go down with the Titanic than get their dress wet. How true is that?
Wow.
Like, there's so many people who are holding on to dear life, to their elite status, when...
As it's literally evaporating before their very
Yeah.
own eyes.
But instead of, gracefully bowing out, instead of just, I don't know, disappearing into irrelevance,
They're kicking and screaming.
Yeah, they're like, no!
It's like the Michael Scott, no! No! What is that? It's when Toby comes back.
Oh, yeah.
No!
No one likes Toby.
Aw. Yeah, I don't like
true.
Toby either. Fuck that guy.
Oh, and he said, I wanted to prove to who? That I could do more, make more, like a gladiator in a coliseum. And he was basically saying, like, Joe Rogan was asking him, like, why do you do what you do? Especially, like, when he was, like a big superstar rapper, like, the heyday. And, he was just saying, like, well, at the time, I was a younger man who had a lot to prove, who wanted, to prove a lot of things, and then he answered himself in the same sentence, prove to who? Because he's already thinking like a few steps ahead, and he was like, I wanted to prove that I could do a lot. I could be a superstar. I could be that gladiator in a coliseum, and I could like be up against this lion, and everyone's watching, and everyone is seeing that like I did that. I accomplished this or that, these great feats. And I think I really related to that. I was like, I think when you're young, you have a lot to prove. But when you get older, prove to who? Like, who are you trying to do all these things for? And I think that's why he's doing what he's doing now. I don't think he's trying to prove anything to anyone.
He's not doing any of this for anybody else. He's doing this because he wants to do these things.
He wants to do it. He already accomplished his dream. He's worth $5 million.
Well, it's like most people would just peace out in the Bahamas or something.
Yeah, but he's like, I want to be president. So I really related to that. I was like, at this point, I guess proved myself, to my parents, to all the people who doubted me, and there were a lot.
You could work in Hollywood.
Yeah, and I made it, and I was like, this kind of sucks. And then he even said, like, when he was like 15 or 14, it meant everything to him to make a beat for like the biggest rapper around the corner or whatever. And then when he was like 19, it meant a lot to him to like make music, his own music. And then at 24, it meant a lot to him to do this or to that. So like the bar always moves up and up and up.
Yeah, and like real quick, I think there's that song Spaceship where Kanye says, try locking yourself in a room for making 5 beats a day for 3 summers. I believe him.
Yeah.
I mean, I could barely do 2 right now. Mm-hmm. But like, I can imagine young little Kanye fucking locked in his bedroom, have nothing to do, doesn't really give a shit about doing anything outside, and just making music.
Yeah. I think that's exactly what it is. It's like at a certain point that you're against yourself. You're your own worst enemy. You're competing against yourself. At his success level, it truly is.
Yeah, and at what point is it like, I'm not really competing with anyone, so how can I compete with myself more?
Yeah. How do I be better? How do I make myself better?
Ye is constantly thinking about how he's gonna top Ye.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
He's not thinking about topping anybody else.
Oh yeah. And I really admire that, because I feel exactly the same way. Like the line's always moving, and it should be. I don't think, once you, like, a lot of people say, like, oh, my dream is to work in animation. Okay, what are you going to do after then? Like, are you content? Is that going to be your career for
forever?
Like, yeah, or is there gonna be the next thing? And like, maybe some people are tormented with it never being satisfied, but I think that's a great thing. To never be satisfied, to like always have something to work towards.
Yeah, it makes life so interesting.
Yeah.
And then you just never stagnate.
Yeah, let's see if there's any more.
You wrote so much.
I wrote so much because he had some great one-liners.
Do you have any outrageous ones we can just like toss in here real quick?
Oh, some outrageous ones. An outrageous one would be, if I would put myself in harm's way to get my masters, they would put themselves in harm's way to stay the masters. I just really like that one. I don't know. I agree in some ways, and yeah, whoever masters represents is up to you.
When you're working, or when you're an employee, there's always a master.
Yeah.
Always.
There's always the man.
Yeah.
When you're a child, it's your parents.
Yes, sir. No, sir. How high? Okay, I gotcha.
When you're an employee, it's the man. For me, it was Mickey. Kanye talked a little bit about like how music, some people said like, oh, music is more influential than politics. And I think he didn't just straight out disagree, but I think he disagreed. And I also disagree. I don't think music is more influential than politics, because in a way, music is influential in terms of culture, but like, let's say Kanye becomes president, or not even president, let's say he becomes like governor or whatever, whatever small changes he makes, it's still a change that was greater than any kind of change that he would have made as a musician.
That's true.
An actual change, something that actually affects people, and I think that's what he was trying to explain in that whole segment, when like people were trying to discourage him, like, oh, you don't want to do that. Music is more influential than politics anyways. So Ye was asked a lot of presidential questions, and because he is actually very serious about even this year's election. He does believe that he can win.
If you really want to,
you write him in.
Yep.
And Rogan asked him this interesting question at the very end. We watched the entire 3-hour podcast
from beginning to end,
and it was a journey.
It was like being inside Ye's mind. And I think Joe Rogan spoke grand total like 8 or 9 times.
Joe did a great job.
But yeah, he caught him when Kanye was like, "Oh shit, what am I saying?"
Yeah, and there are so many points, like, we're not professional interviewers or whatever. I assume when we start having guests, when we can have guests, we will have a whole learning experience to what it takes to be a good interviewer. And I noticed, like, Joe doesn't interrupt when you feel like you should. Like, when you're talking to someone, sometimes there's like awkward silence, and you have an impulse to fill the silence. Joe knows when he needs to and when he doesn't, and I think he did a great job. But at the very end, he asked him this one question about how Ye would deal with 2 countries that, like, warring countries. How would he deal with that? And his answer was really interesting.
Yeah. So, Joe, it was kind of all culminating to this, because it's like, but by the end of the podcast, it kind of felt like a weird presidential interview. Mm-hmm. So Joe just asked him, okay, if there were, countries fighting each other, what would you do? What would you do about it? And then Joe really painted a picture for Ye. He really put him in a scenario where, he's commander-in-chief, and people will die based on, live or die based on his decisions, right? Mm-hmm. And when Ye started to respond, he does this thing where he pauses a lot, right?
Yeah.
And when he was trying to respond to this, he paused a lot, but then he paused for at least like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And the camera just like darted back and forth.
And he closed his eyes. Turns out he was like saying a prayer. Yeah.
And Joe was kind of like befuddled, and I was really happy to see Joe like, oh, that's an interesting moment. What was that? Mm-hmm. What was that? Because like he didn't let it go. He was like, oh, you were praying? Why were you praying? What were you praying about? Like he was like really like
Yeah,
Like,
people want to know.
Yeah, people would want to know, right? And he's like, he was praying because like he wouldn't, you know, like watch Failsafe, right? By Sidney Lumet.
Yeah.
Fucking oh my God, what is his name from 12 Angry Men?
I don't remember his name.
Oh my God, I'm going to get this. Oh no, I don't have it.
Let me search it.
Oh, Henry Fonda.
Oh,
Okay.
yes, yes,
Woo,
yes.
there we go. Henry Fonda was like dealing with Russia and this big misunderstanding. He's like sweating and he knows that this is like a ridiculous fucking so the climax of the movie is basically America's in trouble, Russia's in trouble, there's a big misunderstanding, bombs are about to go off, people are going to die. It's a heavy thing to be a leader, and you could tell Kanye was like so humble to surrender and say, I would find the best people for this type of shit, and I would consult them and I would listen and I would weigh the options. And I, like, you know, for the first 30 seconds when he's like being silent and he's praying and all this shit, I'm going like, oh God, this is a train wreck. What's going on here? And then when he said that, I was like, that is a very, very sensible thing to say. I don't know if it's the right thing to say, but for me, that is actually not a bad answer. And like, he's putting himself, like and you could tell, like you could see it in his eyes, the way he's staring, like he's really putting himself in this situation. He's not like, this isn't like a imaginary scenario for him. He was in this situation after Joe asked him, what would you do? Would you help? Would you let people die? What would it be?
Yeah. He I noticed that I'm not, as an INTJ, I am not very good at reading people's emotions and faces, but I've gotten better because of knowing you. Ye does this thing with his face where he kind of looks blank.
Yeah. Almost like kind of puppy dog-eyed, kind of vulnerable,
Yeah.
kind of like pouty almost, yeah.
And he's visualizing.
Sure, yeah.
And we both do this in different, I think everyone has a different like visualization face.
If you ever watch if you watch any of the past episodes and Janet's like telling a story, look at my eyes. I've caught it a few times just watching the podcast. Like my eyes dart left and right, and I'm not conscious of this, but I'm just seeing pictures in my head of you describing it.
Yeah, so you get kind of a similar thing to Ye, where like you look off into the distance, and your eyes do the like REM sleep thing where it darts back and forth. When I do it, my whole face moves. I look like I'm speaking to myself or like reacting to my own thoughts. When Ye does it, that's his face. I realized that like
his visualization face
halfway into the interview, because I was like, what's he doing?
Ye's a really visual person. He talks about architecture, he talks about design, he's familiar with people who use CAD. He knows architects and all sorts of really fantastic artists, and you could just see I think really great artists are also really visual people.
Yeah.
They really see things in their heads.
Yeah.
They dream up these things. So when Joe was asking this question, Kanye probably imagined himself in the fucking war room, fucking like it's Dr. Strangelove or something, and really put himself in that situation.
And he was really empathizing, and that's what I realized.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, I relate to one side of Ye really hard, and you relate to this side.
Yeah.
You relate to the empathetic side. And I would notice this throughout the podcast. People think Ye is an egomaniac, he's full of himself, whatever. I don't believe so. I think he's very confident, and I think he needs to be that way in order to be successful. Because he has moments that are very humble. Like, he knows when to just be like, well, I don't know.
Yeah, like his little thing about being the little drummer boy for his monastery. It's like he said something like, all I know is how to make and produce music.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to become a preacher or an architect or a conductor or something. I know what I do really well, so I'm the little drummer boy, and I'm going to like just march and parade with who I think are the best people. And the thing about Ye is he handpicks everyone.
The best,
like who he thinks are the best up and coming producers and artists and architects and designers for shoes and shit, fashion designers.
And that's and he would call himself a leader all the time, and I think people who, again, like, are quick to jump to conclusions about him misinterpret what he means by that. But anyone who's been a leader, been in that kind of position, understands what he's saying. He is saying that he doesn't know everything, and he's fully aware that he's not an expert like a physicist can be an expert at something, or Elon is an expert at what he does. So he will, as a leader, your job is to find someone who is an expert to advise you. And there are so many moments like that when he's like, I don't know how to make a church, so all I know how to do is make music. I'll bring that to the table, and I'll, like, get a preacher. I'll get a this, or I'll get a that. And there are so many moments like that where one moment was when he was talking about physics, specifically about, like, oh, kids don't need to like, something doesn't need to be for kids. It should just be, like, for adults, or just for exactly how it is. It doesn't need to be dumbed down for kids. And he was talking about, like, he was yelling at his I think architect or engineer. He was yelling at his engineer because he didn't understand how the physics of what his engineer was trying to explain to him. Like, oh, we're not using solar, we're using water, and we're doing this and that. And Ye was, like, yelling at him, and then he realized, like, oh, he just doesn't understand physics the way this guy understands. And he was, like, really humble about it. Like, he was like, that's why my kids need to learn physics, like, the proper way, or whatever. And, like, without saying it, he was basically like, in a way, regretting probably yelling at this guy. And just because I acknowledge that Ye is humble in certain respects doesn't mean he's not going to yell at you, because he expects a certain level of excellence when you work for him, which, like, it comes out sometimes. Like, he's like, well, I like his that, like, entrepreneur boss man comes out when he's like, well, I hire you, you work for me. And that, like, strict, like,
I work for you, man.
Yeah, comes out, and I'm like, yeah, that's how you kind of have to be. And I relate to that side, but he when he empathizes, though, he was talking about, like, when Kim talks to like people in bad situations and whatever, he really, like, he feels for them. He can empathize. He can really put himself in those shoes, and it was a very interesting moment. You were like, wow, he's like me.
Yeah, because he really. You know, the suffering, and he could hear the screaming, and, like, you know, like, it was as realistic as Kanye could make it in his head, and it was a very kind of truthful, honest moment. And Joe saw that, like, after Kanye had his symphony, Joe was like, wow, that was, you know, that was a really honest, non-politician, no bullshit, not scripted, honest to the heart thing to say.
And they were joking around, like, previously, and then Joe was like, oh, you are in a different place now. You're kind of somber. And then Ye was like, yeah, I feel it. I feel everything. I feel the sadness. I like to be in that situation. And he was like, this isn't something to joke about.
Yeah.
And this isn't, and you were like, oh, I think he has what I have. Like, you have this thing where you really feel what other people are feeling. And that's why you can't watch movies like Borat.
Yeah. As much as I love Sasha, it makes me uncomfortable watching other normal people go through those uncomfortable situations. It makes my skin crawl.
Yeah, you really empathize to the point where
and also, like, you know,
it.
when I think I told this story before, like, when kids would cry at school, or when just whatever, I just feel really sad.
Yeah, you'd feel bad
or whatever it is. But yeah, when he was being really vulnerable and he made it real for himself, like, I feel like most you know, politicians be like, oh, I would do this, I would do that, I'd be tough on this and tough on that, and but Kanye, it's like kind of cool seeing a human being deal with the magnitude of such a position. And too often politicians or bred and polished to present their foreign policy in a very like, oh, I know exactly what I'm doing. Do you though? Because I don't even think that the professionals who know exactly, like who know history and who know how these things work, know 100%. I don't think no one knows. I don't think anybody knows 100% on how to deal with these things.
But yeah, like most you can hope for is that like you picked a person to represent you that is a good person,
and you would hope that the president would listen.
Would make decent decisions. Right. So I look at Kanye.
So the whole point is like that was like that wasn't a throwaway question for him. Yeah. And he didn't phone it in. And like he looked a little like I said in the beginning, it kind of looked like, this is going to be a clip where Kanye, has a train wreck, but no, it turned into this really like somber moment because he made it really real, I guess.
Yeah, I think Ye would make a great president. I really believe it.
I think he should either buy Disney or Universal first, and then I'd be like, okay, because that's like, to me, more impossible than running for like you think you can really buy Universal? If Ye buys Universal, Ye can be president. Like he could do anything. That's so like crazy.
I guess.
Ye buying Universal. I'd be like kicking and screaming to work for DreamWorks at that point.
If Ye buys Universal, he should start making anime.
Yes. That would be so cool.
But with like animation talent.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
That'd be so dope. Like, yeah, Ye would do so many amazing things with Universal, with, just all the movies. Imagine Ye's composing the music for the new Fast and the Furious movies. Oh my God. But I don't know. Like I don't know if he'd make a great president, but there is a level of honesty and vulnerability and humanity that you see in that person that you never see in a politician.
But also ego and confidence.
Yes. Which makes could scare people away, but I don't know, for me it makes me think like, here's somebody who actually really believes when they say they're going to do something, they're going to fucking do it.
Yeah.
And that's so rare. So rare. You never see, like, I never see anybody ever who's like, I want to do this and I'm going to do it. No, there's like, I wish I could do this, but I'm doing this. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that going around.
I mean, I don't know all the Myers-Briggs personalities too well, but I think there's this other personality. Like, you are the exact opposite of my personality, and apparently we're like in the personality chart, we're like meant to be together. And there's like the separate one that is kind of like you and me combined. And I think that's what he is, because he has like all of my arrogance and my ego and confidence and
my sensitivity.
Yeah, and he's also very creative.
He's felt like, again, like, oh man, I wish we talked about this a little bit more, but like Kanye is just like, his brain is just pouring ideas. He like, ideas come out of his ears and nose and orifices. Like, it just like he's constantly coming up with ideas and they just come to him out of thin air. Yeah. And you've seen me in those bouts of like, oh, it's like this and it's like this and it's like this. And Kanye's like having these bouts of imaginative visions of things.
He's like you, where you can't control your creativity.
And I can't edit.
At the rate of like which they come. And he's like me in that the reason why I stutter a lot, and I think maybe we've probably cut it out, like instances of this out before, but I do this thing where I'll start a sentence and my mind goes to the next sentence before I finish the first sentence. So I'll start a sentence and end it with the second sentence, and it doesn't really make sense. And Kanye does this all the time, and that's why I stutter. It's because my mind is thinking too far ahead, and I can't pick which thought to finish first. and so he kind of does this, and I think that's why he pauses when to think carefully about what to say. Otherwise, it's gonna seem like he's all over the place. But then when he really lets himself go, he reminds me of you, where like you just have a lot of creative ideas, and it's like a cup that's overflowing.
Yeah. It's fascinating to watch him just come up with ideas. I mean, like, not all of them are great ideas, but it's just like, yeah, it just came to you right now, did it? Wow. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, we need an innovator. We need a visionary.
Okay. I guess I'll recommend one of my favorite horror movies, Nicholas Roeg's Don't Look Now.
Okay.
Very, very good movie. Very solid, very good horror movie.
Perfect for Halloween.
Perfect for Halloween. And, you know, it's one of my favorite, like, I think horror movies really do the best when it's mixed with another genre. Like, for example, Others is like a really great...
Sorry, it's hot.
I know. Really great family drama, right? On top of this really, really ghostly horror movie. I think Don't Look Now is this amazing, eerie, ghostly kind of, I don't know, just tale about two parents after a disaster, how they're coping with loss. And I love the type of horror where like horror is used as a vehicle for something. Like, so for example, these parents are getting over the loss of a loved one, and you know, the ghost of this person is basically haunting them. You know, make sure it's not for kids, obviously. Really tender moment between two adults. Really, really tender, honest moment between two adults. But it's really good. It's really eerie. It gets under your skin. It's really creepy, and I don't know. It puts you in a mood. It's like you know, there's a lot of really great I gotcha horror movies, but I think what I love about horror movies is like it kind of takes you into a mood. Like, for example, The Shining just makes you feel just uncomfortable as fuck.
Yeah.
And then this movie just makes it's like this weird, dreamy, confusing thing. But there's a killer on the loose, you know?
Yeah.
And they're psychics. Oh, ha. Soothsayers.
I think that movie is very good, but not in like a spooky kind of way, and in a mood kind of way.
Yeah.
It really sets a mood, and there are so many instances in the movie that made me feel like I was not smart enough to watch the movie, because I saw, I think this a movie buff tweet thing where they were explaining a shot in the movie.
Really? From Don't Look Now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't realize there's a reference to I think Ophelia.
Wow.
Or like I think she like drowns in a lake or something like that. And there's like a famous painting,
right,
like a waterhouse painting that it references. And I was like, oh, wow, that completely went over my head. I should know better. We took art history.
Yeah, I love it when directors reference paintings. It's really cool.
It's really neat. That's this episode of the Honey and Absinthe podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment. See you next one.
Bye.